They say you don't gotta go home, but you can't stay here. And no, I don't wanna be alone in the world out there.
Hey guys, this is Level 1 Online back again, and I'm re-releasing the 32 gigabyte image. This time it will have all of the updates and little fixes here and there that I've implemented. Um, I just want to point out that if you download the original 32 gigabyte, it should work just fine. I just want to make sure that we understand that it's not a complete dud. That if the issues you run into is if you're trying to maybe add some systems, you're trying to do an update, and that's something I wish I would have handled, done a couple more checks and maybe like future proof it. But anyways, I think this particular update is a little bit more future proof. It's not 100% because you never know. Emulation Station is always they're always getting new features, new updates. So anyways, let's go ahead and start. Right now, I've been able to implement the last played feature, the RetroPie favorites feature, and the all games feature. Okay, and the way to access those is you hit the start button. You go right here to game collection settings. It says automatic game collections. This is where you can go ahead and enable and disable whatever feature you want. So right now I got all three enabled. Let's say you just want favorites, then you go ahead and deselect these two, and then you go ahead and hit your back buttons. I'm letting you know up front, when you do this, the system will lock up for about 10 to 15 seconds while it go ahead and it updates the screen for you. The other thing, the custom collection, I have not had a chance to mess with this yet. I can tell you up front, the theme that we're working with, it does not support it. So that's something I'll probably have to look into when I start working on my 64 gigabyte image. All right. Another slight adjustment I made is the transitions. You can go ahead and put this back anytime. I set it to instant instead of slide. If you prefer the slide, that's totally up to you. I'm going to set it back to instant. The other thing I've done is I've added some emulators. People have been telling me that they've been adding emulators, but they have not been showing up. That's because they need to edit a file called es_systems.cfg. So I made those adjustments. I went ahead and I installed it. And I did put like a little sample file here just so it would show up. It's a little delete me file. Just make sure you go ahead and delete that once you start dropping ROMs. I have not included the BIOS for Dreamcast. You're going to have to go ahead and hunt those out on your own, okay? So I got Dreamcast, I got Commodore 64, Intellivision, and Daphne. Okay, these four systems do not use the RetroArch standard. Okay, so you're gonna have to set up these controls manually. There's lots of guides and videos out there. I know MLP has a video on this, and I know ETA Prime has a few videos on some of these systems. Make sure you like and subscribe their channels because they really, have been helping me in as far as the progress with my RetroPie. The other thing, let me see. So this one, it does have a game. It has Dragon's Lair. I do want to let you know up front that it is a very difficult game if you never played it before. It uses QuickTime events. It only uses one button, which is the sword button. It's usually your A button. And then it also uses the directional arrows. Whenever you need to move in a certain direction to dodge something, that's what you got to press, okay? This should work with your keyboard, and it should also work with an Xbox 360. To get out of those games, you hit the escape button on the keyboard, or you hit the guide button on the Xbox, or the left shoulder, okay? Now I want to go over some of the other changes I've made. So this, I haven't changed this. I've kept this pretty much intact, the Capcom side. These little side systems, I've kept this intact. And the reason why I haven't implemented the collections is because, in a way, these kind of are, little private collections. you know. And if you don't want this particular collection, let's say you don't like Galaxy and you don't really care for some of these games, you can just go in and delete the whole ROM folder and it won't even show up anymore on your home screen. Something I want to point out, the Psychio system, a lot of the games do run slow, they do stutter. I'm going to go ahead and load up this one. This is Gunbird 2, just to go ahead and show an example. Let me go ahead and turn on the frame rate. Let me boost up that volume. Okay. So, yeah, immediately from the start screen, it was at 60. On the select screen, it drops to 40. Let's go ahead and select our character. As you see at the bottom left, it's now dropped to about 40 FPS. And I've tried different adjustments. I've tried lowering the resolution as low as possible to like 320 by 240, removing the scanline filter. The only thing I have not tried is overclocking. Somebody mentioned that they did do all that and they still can't get it to run properly. So yeah, so it drops. The lowest I've seen it drops is about 38, 36-ish. Still in a way kind of playable. I would just recommend putting the volume down so that stuttering sound doesn't annoy you too much. Let me go ahead and exit out of this. And I would like to go ahead and keep the... I would actually like to remove these ROMs to save space, but I'm going to keep them because you can actually take these ROMs yourself off of the system, put it on your computer, download your Final Burn Alpha, and play some of these games. They will be compatible on your on the Final Burn Alpha for a computer. One other thing I do want to demonstrate. I didn't get a chance to do that. Let me go back to favorites. I'm going to show you how this works right here. I'm going to use X-Men for example. If you want to remove a game, you hit the Y button. Okay? It's going to tell you that it removed X-Men from your favorites. If you want to go ahead and add, let's go ahead and find, let's add, let's see, Cyberbots. You're going to hit the Y button, and then you're going to get a notification, added Cyberbots. Okay? So you can go back to your RetroPie and remove it off of there. It's gone. Or from within here, you can just hit it twice. You can remove it or add it from here, and it'll tell you. Okay? Some other things I just want to go over. These systems seem to be working A-OK. No issues with Neo Geo. The Nintendo system, there was a custom RetroArch config that I created. It's a .rmp file. I went ahead and I removed that. So if there's anybody out there with special controller setups, I don't want to mess with whatever you're doing, so I put it back to default. The only thing I did swap around, I still have my within emulation station menu, I still have my A and B button swap. It's just easier for me to navigate back and forth with those buttons swap like that. I did make a video on how to go ahead and reverse that if you want to go ahead and reverse those. Super Nintendo, I did make an adjustment. I'm using a different emulator now. I'm using the LR-SNES without the year. Let me go ahead and start this up. Here's your choices right here. So I'm no longer using SNES 9X 2002. I'm just using this one. From what I understand there's a Reddit thread that this is the best as far as sound emulation and also FX chip emulation. Let me go ahead and launch this. Let me go ahead and get the frame rate as well. So one of the reasons why I've been playing a lot more on my RetroPie as opposed to on my computer is I really can't stand frame stuttering. On my computer, I get a lot of it goes down to 59, it goes back to 60, and I can notice that. And I know there's settings you can do. There's disabling or enabling. I can't remember which. Triple buffering or vertical sync. With RetroPie, you don't got to mess with all that. The only thing I would just recommend, you can enable like bilinear filtering, which is going to just smooth out the image. But it just, as somebody described, it looks like you smear Vaseline all over your screen, so I don't recommend that. But as you can see, there's no screen tearing, there's no frame stutters. It's looking really good. All right, let me go ahead and exit out of this. All right, and about the SNES Classic Mini, one thing I do want definitely are those controllers. I have a ton of controllers. I love the feel of an authentic Nintendo controller. I like first party controllers. I'm not really that big of a fan of like the third party stuff. The generic stuff you're gonna get for like $10 off Amazon or eBay. I'll spend the 30 or $40 for an authentic quality controller. But you're not going to see me paying $200 $300 on eBay for a SNES Classic Mini, or staying up till like odd hours of the night just to be able to get in that pre-order. Forget, I'm not a fan of pre-orders. I'd rather, if I can walk into the store casually without having to, fight people, I want to just do that. And while I'm on this tangent, I know people who have tried to get like their own physical collection, going to garage sales, going to thrift stores, and you know what? Just the hassle's not worth it. I have a friend. He used to go every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock when the Salvation Army would open, and there was this maniacal woman who would go and just run. As soon as the doors opened, she would just run to the Nintendo section and just grab everything, put it in her cart, and just say, "This is mine." And he went up to her, was like, "Hey, can I take a look? Just to see what you got. I don't want anything. I understand it's yours, but just can I take a look?" No, no, leave me alone. Just really, absolutely crazy. Turns out she's one of those resellers. She has no idea. She's not going to play the game. She's not buying it for her kids. She's just trying to go on eBay and flip that shit. It's stupid. I hate it. Same thing with a lot of these brick and mortar stores. You bring them a game, you know, the game is worth $5 or $10, and I'm sorry. Let's say they got they gave somebody $5 or $10. Somebody brought it in, but then you go in there and you're like, hey, let me get that $5 game. They say, hold on. They whip out their cell phones. They go to eBay or Amazon. They see it's sold for, listed for $30. Oh, I'll sell it to you for 30. I understand those guys. They gotta have a roof over their head, so that's understandable. But that's fine. You do it your way. I'll do it my way. All right, so moving forward, we got the Super Famicom. Everything's working fine there. Nintendo, there was a Reddit thread about the limitations of being able to emulate on the Raspberry Pi. I will try and maybe add some more Nintendo 64 games. I'm not really that big of a fan of the system. I know a lot of people are, I realize that. But even those people realize the limitations, and they're trying to actually just same thing. What I mentioned with the Dreamcast, they're trying to just get the physical copies of of that system. And like I said, Dreamcast and N64 are great systems to collect physical copies for. People aren't as rabid with those games as they are with um, I don't know, like your TurboGrafx games, your Saturn, those are the higher end, higher price type games. Nintendo DS, I did remove a game off of here. I did remove Super Princess Peach. The game would load up, but on level 1, right when it's about to start loading up, it would just crash. So I got rid of that. Sega Master Systems, everything's A-OK there. Genesis, I did fix the folder issue. So you shouldn't have a problem updating now. You can either drag and drop games. If you have, like, let's say the... I wish I could have found box art on this one game. Streets of Rage. There is a new one that came out with, I think, like the Zangief, Blanca, and E Honda, the grappler fighters. I did have this one. So if you drag and drop it in there, you can either drag and drop it into the Mega Drive folder or the Genesis. So this is really cool. I know there's a way to hurricane kick. There you go. So this is real fun. I remember I had this mod on my Dreamcast. Alright. So once again, that's the Streets of Rage 2 Ryu Edition. I should have added the the newer one, the E Honda and Zangief and Blanca one on here. Totally forgot. But like I said, if you find that ROM, just drag and drop it into either the Genesis or the Mega Drive. They're both sim-linked. They both go to the same place. 32X, everything's working fine there. Oh yeah, by the way, I don't know how many people are WWF fans, but there was a game that I noticed was not working correct. It was actually the wrong ROM was swapped out, which is WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game. It was loading up the other WrestleMania game for the system. So now we got the correct game in there. This game is awesome. I played this a lot on the SNES. Let's see if I can do a special move. Damn it. Nobody messes with the bad guy. There we go. Oh my gosh. Alright, let's get out of there. Alright. PlayStation. I added Beatmania. Somebody requested that. I did have space, so I did add that for you. I also added Metal Gear Solid. Somebody requested that. Somebody said, how dare you not have Metal Gear Solid? Well, there you go, buddy. Castlevania, or I'm sorry, not Castlevania. Capcom versus SNK, that works now. And PSP, somebody requested Edge, so I did include that. Speaking of requests, I tried to do as much as I can. The only thing I was not able to do is the Amiga system. That's, from what I understand, that's a project. That's a project that I don't really want to get involved with right now. But, you know, I will keep that in mind for any future builds. So anyways, this game, Edge, I was not able to find the box art for it, but it does run fairly well. Just the sound's a little stuttery. So just keep that in mind, but it does look pretty cool. You got to also keep in mind, just because it's a PSP mini game, and just because it only takes up like 100 megabytes or 200, doesn't mean it's going to run well. Okay, it is a pretty graphically demanding game for a PSP title. PC Engine, Turbo Graphics, they're A-OK. Virtual Boy, they're A-OK. Once again, back to right here. Just to reiterate, the controls are going to be a little tricky to set up, especially this one right here. I just recommend taking to Google, type in Dreamcast and RetroPie, and there should be lots of articles explaining on how to set that up. Also, lots of videos out there by ETA Prime. Also, shout outs to my man, Drew Talks. He hit 10,000 subscribers tonight. I was actually watching his live stream of Zelda when that actually hit. So, congrats. And I think that's about it. As far as future plans, just to wrap things up, I might start like a Discord channel. It's not 100% yet. I'm still thinking about it. Just a way to just communicate with people, do updates instead of having to do update videos, which I really hate. Which reminds me, I saw the Rocket Jump channel. They actually made an update video. They haven't posted anything in a while, and I'm actually on the verge of unsubscribing to them. Even though they say please don't unsubscribe to us, we realize this is an update video. Still, why you clogging up my newsfeed, bro? But anyways, and I only like to put out videos when I got some real content, and I do feel that this is worthy enough to make a video explaining what's going on. And also, I'm going to go ahead share this torrent. I'm going to try and send it over to the folks at Arcade Punks. Special thanks to those guys. They've really steered a lot of traffic towards my channel, and they've really helped it grow. So thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for that. Make sure you go to their website and download some of their cool images and stuff. There's plenty of other images out there. Even try out RetroPie. Give that a shot. I don't want to get too involved with RetroPie right now. RetroPie to me seems like something I want to do on the computer because there's so many graphically demanding games that it supports. I'd rather just do that on a computer. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else I need to give a shout out to. That's about it. Once again, my email, level1online@hotmail.com. If you got any pictures of your setup, feel free to email me on there. I'll make sure to put a donation link, please. Any little bit helps. And that's it. Like, comment, subscribe. Take care. Have a good night. Bye-bye.